The unexpected spilt cafeteria of Orion Space Station was always full of noise. Machines hummed, traders shouted, and alien voices blended with human laughter. The air smelled of metal and strange spices brought from distant planets. Among the crowd, James Carter, a young human officer, sat quietly at a corner table. He wore his navy blue uniform with silver lines that marked him as a junior officer of Earth's fleet. His eyes scanned a tablet, but his mind was lost somewhere, far beyond the stars. James was not the kind of man people noticed. He was calm, polite, and often kept to himself. While others boasted of battles or talked about money, he preferred silence. But on this day, silence did not last long. Across the cafeteria, an alien girl walked nervously with a tray in her hands. Her name was Lyra. She belonged to a race called Aelorian, graceful beings with pale skin that seemed to glow under the station lights. Her hair shimmered faintly, like silver threads touched by moonlight. She was young, perhaps not much older than James, but her wide, uncertain eyes told a story of fear and shyness. Lyra tried to move through the crowd, balancing a tall glass of glowing blue liquid. It was a special Aelorian drink called Cyrillus. The drink was famous for its beauty. It sparkled like liquid stars, but also for how easily it stained clothes. One drop could leave a glowing mark for days. As she passed near James's table, someone pushed through the crowd carelessly. Lyra stumbled. The glass shook. Before she could stop it, the entire drink spilled forward straight onto James's chest. The cafeteria went silent for a moment. The bright blue liquid spread across James's uniform like fire, glowing in the dim light. Gasps filled the air. A group of traders laughed loudly. Someone shouted, "Look at the human. Now he shines like a broken lamp." Lyra froze. Her hands trembled, her face pale. "I am so sorry," she whispered. Her voice was soft, almost musical, but filled with panic. She had broken a silent rule: never humiliate a human officer. James stood up slowly. Everyone expected anger. They waited for him to shout, to insult the alien girl, maybe even demand punishment. Humans and Aelorians had a tense history. Centuries of mistrust still lingered. This was the perfect chance for him to take revenge for the insult. But James did not shout. He looked at Lyra's trembling hands, at the fear in her glowing eyes, and then, to everyone's surprise, he smiled. "It's all right," he said calmly. "It's only a shirt." The crowd murmured in disbelief. Some sneered. "He should have taught her a lesson," a merchant muttered. Another alien shook his head. "Humans are too soft." Lyra's lips parted slightly, her eyes wide. She had expected punishment, but instead she found kindness. "And no, it's not all right. I must fix it," she stammered. She set her tray aside and pulled a small crystal vial from her pocket. "This will help," she said quickly. Her hand still shook as she poured drops of clear liquid onto the glowing stain. The moment the drops touched the fabric, the blue light faded. The liquid seemed to eat away the stain, repairing the cloth as if time itself was reversing. Within seconds, James's uniform looked new again. Gasps echoed once more. "Aelorian cleaning serum," someone whispered. "She wasted it on a human." James touched the fabric. It was warm, as if alive. He looked at Lyra, who now kept her eyes on the floor, ashamed. "You didn't have to do that," James said softly. "I had to," Lyra replied, her voice breaking. "If anyone saw, they would laugh at you because of me. My people already think I'm clumsy, weak." She bit her lip. "I cannot be weak again." Her words surprised James. In her voice, he heard pain. She was not just worried about the accident. She was afraid of something deeper, something hidden. "Listen," James said, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Everyone makes mistakes, even me, even officers. It doesn't make you weak." Lyra looked up slowly, her silver eyes shimmering like water. For the first time, someone had spoken to her not with anger or mockery, but with understanding. At that moment, something shifted in the air. Neither of them could explain it, but it felt as if the universe had paused for a breath. A simple accident had created a bond, small, fragile, but real. Behind them, the crowd lost interest. Laughter returned, the noise of the cafeteria rising again. But James and Lyra still stood there, caught in a quiet moment no one else could see. Lyra whispered, "Thank you for not hating me." James smiled again. "There's nothing to hate." What neither of them knew was that this small kindness, the calm after a glowing spill, would soon spark something far greater than either could imagine. Something that would not only change their lives, but perhaps the future of humans and Alorians together. The strange apologized accident should have ended there. James's shirt was clean again. The crowd had gone back to their meals, and the noise of the cafeteria swallowed the moment. But Lyra did not leave. She stood in front of James, clutching the empty vial in her hand as if it were her last piece of protection. Her shoulders shook slightly, her head bowed low. James noticed the way her fingers trembled. He expected her to turn and run away, but instead she whispered, "Please, let me do more. I must make it right." James frowned gently. "You already fixed the shirt. That's enough." Lyra shook her head. Her long silver hair fell like a curtain over her glowing cheeks. "No, you don't understand. For humans, maybe this is small. For my people, it is shame. I spilled Cyrillus. It is not just a drink. It is a sign of respect. To waste it on you, it will be remembered." The word surprised James. He looked around. A few Alorians at another table were indeed staring at them with cold eyes, whispering to each other. Their expressions carried judgment, even disgust. James realized Lyra was right. The mistake would not be forgotten easily, not by her people. "Sit," James said firmly, pulling out the chair across from him. "If anyone remembers, let them remember that we talked as friends." Lyra hesitated. Alorians rarely sat with humans, but the kindness in his voice left her no choice. Slowly, she placed herself in the chair, sitting stiffly as if ready to run at any second. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was heavy, but not empty. It was filled with questions. Finally, Lyra broke it. "Why did you not shout at me? Why did you not call the guards? Any other human would have punished me." James gave a small laugh, though his eyes stayed serious. "Maybe I'm not like other humans." He leaned closer, his voice calm but steady. "Do you know what would have happened if I shouted? You would cry, the crowd would laugh, and tomorrow no one would remember, except you. You would carry that shame forever. Why should I give you that pain for an accident?" Lyra's lips parted. She stared at him as if seeing something impossible. Her people always taught her that humans were harsh, prideful, always seeking revenge for small things. Yet here was one human who showed mercy, even warmth. "You are strange," she whispered. "People tell me that a lot," James replied with a smile. Lyra's eyes dropped to his shirt again. She touched the fabric lightly, her fingertips glowing. Faintly, "Do you feel it?" she asked. James frowned. "Feel what? The energy?" She said in a hushed tone, "The Cyrillus drink. It is not only food. It carries life essence of our world. When it touched you, it left something behind." "Look!" James glanced down. The shirt looked clean, yet as Lyra pressed her hand over the spot, faint blue veins of light pulsed under the cloth, like tiny stars hiding in the fabric. They vanished quickly, but he had seen them. His breath caught. "What was that?" Lyra pulled her hand back quickly, looking around to be sure no one else saw. "You must not tell anyone. Please. They will not understand." "Then explain it to me," James said softly. Her voice dropped even lower. "Among my people, Cyrillus is sacred. It responds to emotions. If the drink spills on someone and the stain glows, it means a bond has been formed, not just friendship, something deeper." James leaned back, his chest tight with shock. "Bond? What kind of bond?" Lyra's silver eyes glimmered with both fear and wonder. "A connection between souls. It happens once in a lifetime if it happens at all. I did not believe it was real, but when you did not hate me, when you forgave me, it answered." Her words hung in the air like thunder. James wanted to laugh, to call it nonsense, yet he could not. He had seen the glow, felt the warmth in his chest. Something had changed inside him, though he could not explain it. He rubbed the back of his neck, unsure how to respond. "So, you're saying that one drink spilling on me means we're, what, connected?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, connected in ways we do not yet understand. It is dangerous. If others know, they will separate. U.S. They will not allow this bond between a human and an Alorian." James studied her face. She was terrified not of him, but of her own people, and yet, beneath the fear, he saw a spark of hope. "That we keep it secret," James said firmly. "No one else has to know. For now, it's just between us." Lyra exhaled, relief flooding her. She gave the smallest smile, fragile but real. For the first time since the accident, her hands stopped shaking. The cafeteria noise carried on. The world outside continued spinning, but James knew something important had happened. This was no longer just an accident. This was the beginning of something dangerous, something powerful, something unimaginable, and deep inside, he felt a whisper of fate. The universe had chosen this moment, this bond, for a reason. Secrets beneath the surface. Next morning, James walked through the metallic halls of Orion's space station, but his thoughts were still stuck in the cafeteria. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faint blue glow under his shirt and heard Lyra's trembling voice. A bond has been formed. He tried to tell himself it was nonsense. Humans didn't believe in such things. Bonds of fate, soul connections. That was the language of fairy tales, not science, and yet he felt different, lighter, stronger, as if something inside him had awakened. When James reached the research sector of the station, he noticed a familiar figure moving quickly between corridors. It was Lyra. She carried a stack of data pads, pressed tightly against her chest. Her steps hurried, her head low. Unlike the other Aelorians, who walked proudly with elegance, Lyra seemed smaller, quieter, like a shadow among stars. Curiosity tugged at James. He followed her quietly, keeping his distance. She entered a restricted lab room, swiping a crystal, passed across the scanner. For a moment, the doors hissed shut. James frowned. What was she doing here? Later that day, fate gave him an answer. While delivering a report to the command office, James overheard the officers talking. Have you seen the Aelorian assistant? That girl, Lyra. One whispered. The scientist keeps her hidden in the labs. Strange work, I hear. Experiments not meant for humans. The other replied. James's curiosity turned into concern. Was this the same Lyra who trembled over spill drink yesterday? Why was she involved in secret experiments? That evening, James found her again, this time in a quiet observation deck overlooking the endless stars. She sat alone, her silver hair glowing faintly under the light of the galaxies. Her shoulders sagged, as if the weight of the universe pressed down on them. James approached softly. Lyra. She jumped at his voice, then relaxed when she saw him. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you, James said gently. He sat beside her, the glass window showing a sea of stars stretching forever. Why are you always hiding? Lyra hesitated. For a long moment, she said nothing. But then, her voice broke the silence. Because I am not like the others. My people see me as fragile. I was born weak, smaller than the rest. They do not trust me to be a warrior or a leader, so they gave me to the scientists, an assistant. Nothing more. James studied her face. She spoke with bitterness, but also with pain that ran deep. And what do these scientists make you do? He asked. Her silver eyes flickered toward him, then back to the stars. I am not allowed to tell. But she paused, lowering her voice until it was almost a whisper. Yesterday, when the Cerealist spilled, it revealed something. Something I was never meant to test on a human. The energy that binds. It reacted. To you. James's chest tightened. So it wasn't an accident. Lyra shook her head quickly. No, the spill was an accident. But the reaction, it means you carry something rare. My people would not accept it. If they knew, they would separate us immediately. They fear bonds between species. They believe it will break the balance of power. James leaned back against the glass, staring at the swirling galaxies. So, because I didn't yell at you, because I showed kindness, suddenly I'm tied to some alien law of fate. Lyra turned toward him, her silver eyes wet with emotion. Not a law, a connection. Do you not feel it? Do you not feel different? James hesitated. He wanted to deny it, but deep down, he knew she was right. Since the accident, his body felt alive. His thoughts were sharper, his heart stronger. It was as if the universe whispered through his veins. I feel something, James admitted quietly, but I don't understand it. Lyra reached out, her hand trembling as it hovered near his chest. Then let me show you. Her palm touched the place where the stain had been. At once, a faint glow spread under her hand. Blue veins of light pulsed across his shirt, crawling like rivers of starlight. James gasped. The warmth seeped into his skin, filling him with calm and strength. But then something more. Images flashed in his mind. He saw Lyra as a child, mocked by her people. He saw her carrying heavy books alone, tears in her silver eyes. He saw her standing under alien moons, whispering prayers to the stars. And then he saw himself, not as he was, but as if Lyra saw him, strong, kind, unafraid. The vision ended. leaving him breathless. James pulled back, his chest rising fast. What was that? Lara lowered her hand, her eyes shining with tears. That is the bond. You saw my memories, and I felt your strength. This is what makes it dangerous. If others knew, they would see it as corruption. They would call it forbidden. James stared at her, his hands curling into fists. Forbidden or not, it's real, and if it's real, I won't run from it. For the first time, Lara smiled a small, fragile smile that carried the warmth of a new sunrise. But in the shadows of the observation deck, unseen by either of them, a pair of cold eyes watched. Someone had followed them, and someone now knew their secret. The first test next few days on Orion Station felt different for James. He still wore the same navy blue uniform. He still ate at the same cafeteria table. He still walked the same long metallic corridors. But inside, something had changed. At night, when he rested in his quarters, he felt the glow beneath his shirt. It was faint, like the warmth of a candle, but it pulsed in rhythm with his heart. Sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he heard whispers. Lara's voice, soft and distant, calling his name. He told himself it was imagination, yet deep inside, he knew it was the bond. One morning, James entered the cafeteria again. He expected another ordinary meal, but the moment he stepped inside, he noticed the eyes. Dozens of alien faces turned toward him, their stares sharp and cold. Conversation stopped. Even the clatter of plates seemed to fade. James sat quietly, ignoring them, but his instinct screamed something was wrong. Then he saw Lara. She stood near the serving counter, holding the tray, her head low. But before she could move, 3 tall Aelorians blocked her path. They were warriors, broad-shouldered, armored in dark suits that shimmered with faint light. Their faces were hard, their silver eyes narrow with suspicion. One of them leaned close to Lara and hissed, loud enough for James to hear, "You spend too much time with the human." Why? Lara's hand shook, but she tried to keep her voice steady. It was only an accident, nothing more. The warrior smirked. Accident? We saw you in the observation deck with him. Do you think we are blind? Tell us what you shared. James's jaw tightened. He rose from his seat and walked over, his steps firm. The crowd fell into silence again. Humans were not supposed to interfere in Aelorian disputes, but James did not stop. Is there a problem here? He asked calmly. The warrior turned, glaring down at him. Yes, human. The problem is you. You think you can speak with her as if she is yours. She is not. James kept his tone even. She spilled a drink on me. She apologized. That's all. The warrior sneered. You lie. The drink left a mark. We can smell it on you. The words struck James like a blade. They knew. Somehow, they could sense the bond. His chest tightened, but he forced himself to remain calm. If there was a mark, it's gone now. So let's end this. For a moment, the warrior said nothing. Then, with sudden movement, he reached out and grabbed James's collar, pulling him forward. Gasps echoed through the cafeteria, but before James could react, something happened. The faint glow under his shirt flared to life. Blue light spread across the fabric, pulsing like veins of fire. The warrior staggered back, his hand burning as if he had touched hot iron. What sorcery is this? He shouted. His voice shook with fear and anger. The crowd erupted in whispers. The bond. Someone gasped. It's true. Lara's face turned pale. She stepped in front of James. Her arms spread as if to shield him. Stop. It was not his choice. It was mine. Punish me, not him. The warrior's silver eyes narrowed. Then you admit it. You are bound to this human. Lara's lips trembled, but she did not deny it. The warrior pointed at James. This is forbidden. You have brought shame to our people. The council will hear of this. With that, the warriors turned and stormed out, leaving a trail of silence behind them. The crowd slowly returned to noise, but now it was filled with suspicion and fear. Every glance toward James carried a message. He is marked. He is dangerous. When they were alone, James turned to Lara. You knew this would happen. Tears welled in her eyes. Yes, I hoped it would not be so soon, but the bond cannot hide forever. They feel it. James placed a hand on her shoulder. Then let them feel it. I'm not afraid. Lara shook her head, her voice breaking. You should be. The council does not forgive. They will test you. They will try to break us apart. James tightened his grip, his eyes steady. Then let them test me. At that moment, A faint vibration hummed in his chest. Not fear, strength. The bond between them had spoken again, whispering courage into his veins. But deep in the shadows of the station, more than warriors were watching. Messages were already being sent to the Aelorian Council, and soon, James and Lyra would face their first true trial, one that would decide not just their bond, but the fate of humans and Aelorians together. The hidden bond James sat in his quarters that night, staring at the faint blue glow still lingering on his uniform. The cafeteria scene replayed in his mind again and again, the warrior's cold eyes, the burn when they touched him, Lyra's trembling voice as she admitted the truth aloud. He should have felt fear. A human caught in alien politics had little chance of survival. Yet instead of fear, James felt a strange calm. The glow beneath his shirt warmed his chest like a steady heartbeat. It reminded him of Lyra's silver eyes, of her fragile smile when she said he wasn't like the others. A soft knock broke his thoughts. The door slid open and Lyra stepped inside. She looked tired, her silver hair falling loosely around her face. "You shouldn't be here," James whispered. "If anyone sees, I don't care," she interrupted. Her voice was soft but firm. "They already know. Hiding will not change it." James studied her carefully. "Then tell me everything. No more secrets. What is this bond really?" Lyra closed the door and sat across from him. For a moment, she was silent, gathering her courage. Then she spoke. "In my world, we believe every soul carries light. Most lights pass each other in the dark, but once in 1,000 years, two lights join. They call it the eternal bond. It is rare, even among Aelorians, and it was never meant to happen with a human." James leaned forward. "But why? What does it mean for us?" Lyra's silver eyes shimmered. "It means we share more than feelings. We share strength, memory, even pain. You saw pieces of my past that day, didn't you? That was the bond opening a door." James nodded slowly. "Yes, I saw your memories, like they were mine." Lyra lowered her voice. "Then know this. If one of us is harmed, the other will feel it. If one of us dies, the bond can destroy the other. That is why they fear it. It is power beyond control. If humans and Aelorians discovered such a connection is possible, everything would change. Alliances, wars, the balance of power, nothing would remain the same." Her words settled heavily in the small room. James's hands tightened into fists. "So that's why they want to break us apart." Lyra nodded, her shoulders trembling. "The council will demand tests. They will try to prove you are unworthy. If you fail, they will call for your removal, or worse." James's eyes burned with quiet fire. "Then I won't fail." Lyra looked at him with a mix of fear and admiration. "You don't understand how dangerous they are. Aelorian trials are not games. They have life and death." James leaned closer, his voice steady. "Listen to me. I don't care if it's life and death. I will not walk away from this bond. Not from you." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her that way, not even her own people. She lowered her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. Why risk everything for me?" James smiled faintly. "Because when everyone else saw a mistake, I saw someone worth protecting. That's enough." For the first time, Lyra let herself cry, not tears of shame, but of relief. She reached out, and James took her hand. The moment their skin touched, the bond surged to life. Blue light filled the room, glowing like starlight, wrapping them both in warmth. James gasped as another vision struck him. This time, it was not Lyra's past, it was the future. He saw flashes of battle, fire tearing through the space station, and himself standing beside Lyra, holding her hand as if nothing could break them. He saw the council chambers, silver thrones lined with judging eyes, and he saw a final image, himself glowing like a star, standing between humans and Aelorians as if fate had chosen him to bridge the two worlds. The vision vanished, leaving him breathless. Lyra, too, was shaking. "You saw it, didn't you?" she whispered. James nodded slowly. "A future, our future." Silence fell, heavy and powerful. The bond was no longer just a mystery. It was a destiny. But outside the small room, destiny was already moving. The council ship had arrived. Warriors marched through the station corridors, their silver armor gleaming under harsh lights. A voice echoed through the speakers. "All bonded subjects must report to the council chamber immediately." Lyra's face turned pale. James rose to his feet, his jaw set. "Then it begins. The first test." She looked at him, fear in her silver eyes. "Are you ready?" James squeezed her hand, the glow between them burning brighter. "I don't know, but I won't face it without you. Together, they stepped into the hall, walking toward a future that could either unite their worlds or destroy them both. The Council's trial council chamber of the Aelorians was a place built to inspire both awe and fear. The hall stretched wide, its ceiling glowing with artificial stars. 12 tall thrones lined the room, each occupied by council elder beings of great age, their silver eyes burning with cold judgment. The floor beneath was made of black crystal, reflecting every step like a mirror. James and Lyra entered, hand in hand. Gasps echoed from the crowd of warriors and citizens filling the sides of the chamber. A human and an Aelorian walking together, it was a sight no one had imagined. Bring them forward, an elder commanded, his voice echoing like thunder. The guard stepped aside, letting James and Lyra approach the center of the chamber. The glow of their bond flickered faintly on James's chest, a secret that could no longer be hidden. The head elder leaned forward. His long silver hair shimmered under the starlight. You stand accused of forming a forbidden bond. Speak, Lyra, of the Aelorians. Did you spill the cerealist drink on this human by mistake or by design? Lyra bowed her head. It was an accident. The elder's eyes narrowed, yet the bond awakened. Do you deny it? Her voice trembled, but she spoke firmly. I do not deny it. The bond is real. Whispers rippled through the chamber. The words were dangerous, almost unthinkable. A human and an Aelorian. Bound. The elder turned his gaze to James. Human, do you accept this bond? James met his cold eyes without flinching. Yes, I accept it. The chamber erupted in shouts, anger, disbelief, outrage. Warriors demanded punishment. Some called for James's removal from the station. Others called for Lyra's exile. The elder raised his hand and silence fell. If you claim this bond, then you must prove it by surviving the trial of truth. James's FISTS Titan. What is this trial? The elder's voice grew colder. You will face 3 tests. The first will test your strength. The second, your spirit. The third, your loyalty to each other. If you fail, the bond will be broken, and one of you will not leave this chamber alive. Lyra's breath caught. James placed his hand over hers, steadying her. We'll face it together. The first test. Strength floor shifted. A circle of light opened beneath James, lowering him into a pit surrounded by walls of glowing crystal. From the shadows emerged an Aelorian beast tall, with armored skin and glowing fangs. Its roar shook the chamber. James's heart pounded, but the bond pulsed in his chest. He felt Lyra's fear and also her faith. He grabbed a metal staff thrown to him and stood his ground. The beast lunged. James dodged, his body moving faster than he thought possible. Every strike he made, every step he took, was guided by the warmth of the bond. When the beast attacked again, James spun the staff and struck his neck with precision. The beast staggered, then collapsed. Defeated, gasps filled the chamber. A human had survived the beast. The second test. Spirit James was pulled from the pit, his breath heavy. The elders motioned for the second test to begin. This time, Lyra stepped forward. She was placed inside a crystal circle that glowed with blinding light. The elder spoke. You will face your greatest fear. If you break, the bond breaks. The light flared, and Lyra fell to her knees. Before her eyes appeared visions, her people laughing at her weakness, calling her useless, pushing her aside. She saw herself small and helpless, forever unwanted. She began to tremble, but then she felt James's hand in her heart, though he was far away. His voice echoed inside her mind. You are not weak. You are stronger than all of them. Stand. Tears streamed down her face, but she stood tall, her silver eyes burning with defiance. The vision shattered like glass. The circle of light dimmed. The council murmured in shock. Lyra had passed. The third test. Loyalty at last. The final trial. A guard brought the crystal blades and placed them before James and Lyra. The elder's voice cut like ice. The final test is loyalty. To prove the bond, one of you must sacrifice for the other. One must bleed, and one must heal. Only then will we see if your connection is truth or lie. James immediately stepped forward. I will take it. Lyra's eyes widened. No, James, they'll kill you. He smiled softly. Better me than you. He picked up the blade and pressed it against his palm. As the edge cut, blood spilled, glowing faintly blue under the bond's light. Pain shot through him, but at the same time, Lyra cried out, clutching her own hand. His pain had become hers. The chamber gasped. The bond was undeniable. James dropped the blade. his breath ragged. You see, what hurts me, hurts her. What heals her, heals me. This bond is real. You cannot deny it. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. The elders sat frozen, their silver eyes locked on the human who dared speak as an equal. Finally, the head elder leaned back, his voice heavy. The bond is proven. Shock rippled through the hall. Some elders whispered of danger, others of destiny, but none could deny the truth. The human and the alien girl had passed every test. James reached for Lyra's hand, as she took it firmly. Together, they stood before the council, no longer weak, no longer afraid. The head elder's voice echoed, "Then hear this. The bond may remain, but know this, human. You and your kind will never be welcomed easily. The road ahead will be filled with trials greater than these. Your survival is not promised." James held Lyra's gaze and answered simply, "We're not afraid." The glow of the bond pulsed brighter than ever, lighting the chamber with starlight. And in that moment, the impossible had become real. A human and an Aelorian had stood together and won. The unimaginable future at the chamber was silent after the trials, yet the silence was louder than any shout. The elders stared down at James and Lyra, their eyes unreadable. Around them, warriors and citizens whispered, unsure whether they had just witnessed a crime or a miracle. James stood tall, despite the blood still dripping faintly from his hand. Lyra clung to his arm, her silver eyes burning with both fear and pride. The glow of the bond between them pulsed steady and strong. No longer a secret, but a truth no one could erase. Finally, the head elder rose from his throne. His long cloak shimmered like liquid silver as he spoke. The bond is proven, but its meaning is not yet clear. Perhaps it is danger. Perhaps it is destiny. Time will decide. With those words, the council dismissed them. Guards escorted James and Lyra out of the chamber. But the whispers followed, growing louder with every step. For centuries, humans and Aelorians had lived in mistrust, their alliances fragile, their peace uneasy. Now, before their very eyes, a bond once thought impossible had been born. The quiet after the storm. Back in the quiet corridors of Orion Station, James finally let out a heavy breath. His body ached, but inside he felt stronger than ever before. Lyra sat beside him on a bench, her hands wrapped around his. "You should not have bled for me," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I would bleed 1,000 times, James said softly, "if it means keeping this bond alive." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "Do you know what they will call us now? Traitors, outcasts?" James gave a faint smile. "Or maybe they'll call us something else. A beginning." Lyra blinked at him. "A beginning, yes," he said. "The beginning of a future where human and Aelorian don't fear each other, where they trust. If a bond like ours can exist, maybe it means we were never so different after all." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then, for the first time since the accident in the cafeteria, Lyra laughed, soft, fragile, but filled with hope. The bond's gift at night. James lay awake in his quarters, the glow in his chest stronger than ever. Suddenly, visions came again, not only of Lyra's memories, but something far beyond. He saw fleets of ships, human and Aelorian side by side, exploring galaxies together. He saw cities where silver-eyed children played with human children, no walls between them. And then he saw Lyra, standing beside him years later, her silver hair brighter, her hands still in his, both of them older, but stronger leaders, not outcasts. The vision faded, leaving him breathless. He touched the glow on his chest, whispering, "Unimaginable." The bond was not only a connection between two souls, it was a window into a future that neither species had dared to dream. The unimaginable future begins next day. The station buzzed with tension. Some aliens avoided James, whispering of curses. Others stared at him with curiosity, even respect. For the first time, humans and Aelorians alike spoke not of war, but of possibility. When James and Lyra walked through the halls together, people stepped aside not out of hatred, but out of awe. They were living proof that the universe still held mysteries beyond fear. On an observation deck, where they had once spoken in secret, James and Lyra stood side by side, looking out at the endless stars. "Do you regret it?" James asked quietly. Lyra shook her head. "No, the bond is not a curse. It is a gift. It showed me something I never believed in." "What's that?" he asked. She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing softly, that even in the coldest galaxy, kindness can spark a light bright enough to change everything. James smiled, his own eyes reflecting the starlight. Then let's carry that light together, hand in hand. They watched the stars stretch across infinity. The universe was still full of enemies, still full of dangers. The council's warnings still echoed in their ears. But they no longer walked alone. What had started as a simple accident, an alien girl spilling a glowing drink on a human's shirt, had become something unimaginable. A bond that could rewrite the future of two worlds. And somewhere, deep in the silence of the cosmos, the universe itself seemed to whisper approval.